Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is lesson from the TOEFL series for the beginners. आज हम prepositions को in depth study करेंगे और hopefully हम तमाम ambiguities को clear कर देंगे. So without further ado, let's start the topic. Now, how to use prepositions? Prepositions are really difficult because almost every definition for a preposition has exceptions. So that makes it difficult. The best way is to picture how they function in a comparison with other prepositions and to study certain common uses and expressions using the various prepositions. Now हम in order to understand the prepositions हम एक picture draw करेंगे और हम picture में हर preposition को दूसरे preposition के reference में समझने की कोशिश करेंगे and that will make our life a lot easier than before. So here's a picture on your screen. Anything that's going through any object is in that case you're supposed to use the preposition through. There is you have above and over, and the opposite of the two is below or under. Here you have on, and this is by when something is closely by, is passing by. This is into when you're walking into something, and this is out of. Then comes out, and the opposite of this in, and then something coming inside is to, and outside is from. Into and out of, to and from. So that's how you just have to picture this very clearly. I hope just you take the screenshot of this image so that you can have this clarity for the rest of your life. और हम individual prepositions को अब go through करेंगे. Now this diagram was initially intended to give you a general idea of how the prepositions really work. Often, however, the diagram will not help you to understand the certain expressions containing prepositions. So this was mainly for the general, but exceptions are always there. For expressions which are not self-explanatory, a definition is given in that case in parentheses. So let's dive in. Starting off with the first one, which is during. So here's what it tells us. This preposition should be distinguished from since and for. It has nothing to do with since and for. We have a separate lesson of topic on this these two, just to make you understand. I'll give the link also in the description box. So it has nothing to do with these two prepositions. During is altogether different thing. During is usually actually followed by a noun indicating a time. It indicates the duration of a time. It is meant to indicate the duration of time. So how does it go in the examples? During our vacation, we visited many relatives across the country. So this is the time, the duration was the vacation time. The another one is during the summer, we don't have to study. Again, the span of a time, which is the summer, they didn't study. So then comes the other one, which is from. Again, it is the opposite of to. How do we work with this? So this preposition is generally means the opposite of to. As you can also picture on this diagram, this preposition from is opposite to to. He came from Miami last night. He came from Miami, as if this round circle is Miami. So he came from Miami last night. Now what else other common uses do we have with this preposition from? From a time or a place to a time to a place, we use this preposition from. For example, he lived in Germany from 1972, it's a time, to 1978. From time to time, and also from place to place. We drove from Atlanta to New York in one day. So again, the common uses for the from is time के लिए or place के लिए. From time to time or place to place, we use this preposition from. Second is about the expression with from. The first expression is from time to time. This expression from time to time means occasionally. Example हम देखते हैं. We visit the art museum from time to time. Then we have another preposition which is out of, as it is labeled in this picture. It is opposite of into. So how does it work? This preposition generally means the opposite of into, as we can picture in the diagram too. Example, he walked out of the room angrily when John admonished him. What about the common expressions with this preposition out of? इससे पहले हमने from के expression को देखा, अब हम देखेंगे out of preposition के expressions में हम कैसे इस्तेमाल करते हैं. The first one is out of town. It means away. For example, Mr. Adams cannot see you this week because he is out of town. So using this expression, this preposition with the word town makes an expression which actually means away. Second expression is out of date, which is used to mean as old. Don't use this dead dictionary. It is out of date. Find out that is up to date. So this is the opposite of out of date. The up to date means something on point, very very recent one. The third expression is out of work, which means jobless or unemployed. As for example, Henry has been very unhappy since he has been out of work. So when you use this preposition with the work, it means jobless and unemployed. Another example, out of question, means impossible. Your request for an extension of credit is out of question. Don't even think about it. Then we have out of order. Out of order means not functioning. Not functioning. For example, we had to use our neighbor's telephone because ours was out of order. Another preposition we have is by, which you can see in this picture, something crossing by an object or a place, whatever. So how do we read about it? This preposition generally means to go past or place, or to be situated near a place. Again, it means to go past or place, or to be situated near a place. For example, we walked by the library on the way home. Or your books are by the window. It's a place, or you're passing by something, or situated next to something, near a place. Now, what about the common uses of this preposition by? Starting off with the first one, which means to indicate the agent in passive sentences. इससे पहले हमारी passive voice की पूरा एक lesson मौजूद है, जिसमें हमने by को as preposition use किया था. That's actually referring to that one. It is used to indicate the agent in the passive sentence. For example, Romeo and Juliet was written by William Shakespeare. So he was the writer of this drama. So the second use is when you use this preposition by with a specific time that actually means before. For example, we usually eat supper by 6 o'clock in the evening. That means you eat your supper before 6 o'clock. The third example, or the third use rather, is by bus, by plane, by train, by ship, by car, by bike. So with all these transportation or vehicle means, the preposition should be used is by. That all means indicates the mode of travel. For example, we traveled to Boston by train. So with any of these vehicles, the right preposition is by. We talked about the common uses. Now here comes common expressions with this preposition by. First one, by then, which means before a time in the past or future. It can be either past or future before that time. For example, I will graduate from the university in 2023. By then, I hope to have found the job. So again, by then means before the time in the past or in the future. The second expression is by way of. By way of means via. For example, we are traveling to Atlanta by way of Baton Rouge. By way of Baton Rouge. So by way of can be used interchangeably of via. Third is by the way. That means incidentally. Incidentally. Example, by the way, I have got 2 tickets for Saturday's game. Would you like to go with me? Fourth expression, by far, means considerably. By far means considerably. For example, this book is by far the best one on the subject. Then the last expression is by accident or by mistake. It means not intentionally, opposite of on purpose. For example, nobody will receive a check on Friday because the wrong cards were put into the computer by accident. Here comes another expression, either preposition, which is in. As it is labeled here, it's opposite of out. So let's dive into its uses. This preposition generally means inside a place or an enclosure. As we have seen in the picture, it was an enclosed object. So it is about inside a place or in an enclosure. It's the opposite of out, as we have seen in the picture too. Dr. Jones is in his office. So that someone is in this closed office or in the enclosure. Now starting off with the common uses of this preposition in, starting off with the first one. In a room, in a building, in a drawer or in a closet. So this all means inside. Using the example, your socks are in the drawer. The second one is in month or in a year. Month के साथ और year के साथ भी जो preposition इस्तेमाल होगा, that will be in. इसके examples देखते हैं. His birthday is in January. Second example, Peter will begin class in 2022. So that's how you have to place your prepositions when it comes to month or year. The right preposition is in. The third use is in time. Means not late, early enough. Not late, early enough. For example, we arrived at the airport in time to eat before plane left. The fourth one is in the street. The example, the children were warned not to play in the street. We often make a mistake or on the street, but the right word is in the street. Then the other use is in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. Example, I have a dental appointment in the morning, but I will be free in the afternoon. So for these two timings, the right preposition is in. Then in the past or in the future. Example, in the past, attendance at school was not compulsory, but it is today. So when it comes to past or future, the right preposition is in. Now come another one, which is in the beginning or in the end. With these two words, आपका preposition जो आएगा, that will be in. Example देखते हैं. Everyone seemed unfriendly in the beginning, but in the end, everyone made friends. The next one, in the way, obstructing. In the way means obstructing. He could not park his car in the driveway because another car was in the way. In the way means obstructing. Next, once in a while, that means occasionally. The words written in the parentheses are basically the meanings. So once in a while means occasionally. Once in a while, we eat dinner in a Chinese restaurant. इसको हम sometimes once in a blue moon भी कहते हैं. Then another one is in no time at all. In no time at all means in a very short time. In a very short time. Example, George finished his assignment in no time at all. Means in a very short time. Next one, in the meantime. It means at the same time or in meanwhile. Meanwhile. Example, we start school in several weeks, but in the meantime, we can take a trip. But in the meantime, we can take a trip. Next, in the middle. When you're using the word middle, the right preposition is in. So the Grace stood in the middle of the room looking for her friend. Next, in the army, in the air force, in the navy. For all the forces, the right preposition is in. My brother was in the army for 10 years. Next, in a row. Example, we are going to sit in the 10th row of the auditorium. Next one, in the event that. It means if. Example, in the event that you win the prize, you will be notified by mail. Next, in case, which also means if. I will give you the key to the house, so you have it in case I arrive a little late. Next, get in touch with or get in contact with. Get in touch with or get in contact with. Example, it's very difficult to get in touch with Jenny because she works all day. This led us to the another preposition, which is on, and it is labeled here. So something on the top of something. So let's start this preposition. This preposition generally means a position above but in contact with an object. Remember, it is something in the contact with that object. For example, the records are on the table, so the records are in contact with the object. So when it comes to mentioning something above of the surface, make sure they both are in contact. Now starting off with the common usage of this preposition on. The first one is on a date and on a day. On a date and on a day. For example, I'll call you on Thursday. His birthday is on January 28th. So when it was about month or a year, the word preposition is in. But when precisely comes the day or the date, then the right preposition is on. Next, on with different articles: bus, plane, train, ship, bike. For example, it's too late to see Jane. She's already on the plane. I came to school this morning on the bus. Next, on a street means situation of a building. For a situation of a building. For example, George lives on 16th Avenue. Then goes on the floor of a building. On the floor of a building. Example, Henry lives on the 15th floor of that building. Let's start the common expressions with the preposition on. We are done with the common uses. Now here comes the common expressions. Starting off with the first one. On time. It means punctual, used for a scheduled event or appointment, more specific than in time. It's more specific than in time. We just read about in time. Example, despite the bad weather, our plane left on time. Our plane left on time. On the corner means of two streets. Means of two streets. Norman Hall is on the corner of 13th Street and 5th Avenue. Next, on the sidewalk. For example, don't walk in the street, walk on the sidewalk. Next, on the way means en route or en route. For example, we can stop at the grocery store on the way to their house. Next, we have on the right or on the left. For these two sides, the right preposition is on. Example, Paul sits on the left side of the room and Dave sits on the right. Then another one, on television or on the radio. Example, the President's State of the Union address will be on television and on the radio tonight. Next, on the telephone. On the telephone means, for example, Janet will be here soon. She is on the telephone. She is on the telephone. Next, on the whole. For example, it means in general, all things considered. Example, on the whole, the rescue mission was well executed. Next, on the other hand. On the other hand. However, nevertheless. It means however, nevertheless. Example, the present perfect aspect is never used to indicate a specific time. On the other hand, the simple past tense is. This is about an information we already talked about in the initial lessons. So that's how you use the preposition on the other hand. Another one, on sale, means offered for sale. Means offered for sale. The house will go on sale this weekend, offered at a lower than normal price. The regular price of the radio is $40, but today it's on sale for $10. Next, on foot means walking. For example, my car would not start, so I came on foot. So I came on foot. This is all about on, starting off with another preposition which is at. So let's start. This preposition generally is used to indicate a general location. It's used to indicate a general location. It's not as specific as in. Example, Jane is at the bank. Jane is at the bank. Now starting off with some common uses. The first one, at a specific address. For example, George lives at 712 16th Avenue. Or it can be used at with a specific time. The class begins at 3:10. The class begins at 3:10. This was about the common uses. Now starting off with expressions, the common expressions with the preposition at. The first one, at home, at school or at work. Example, from 9 to 5, Charles is at work and his roommate is at school. At night, they are usually at home. Another use, at night. We never go out at night because we live too far from town. Next, at least means at the minimum. At the minimum. For example, we will have to spend at least 2 weeks doing the experiments. Next, at once means immediately. Please come home at once. Next, we have at present means the moment. At present or at the moment both means now. For example, she is studying at the moment. She is studying at the moment. Then at times it means occasionally. It means occasionally. For example, at times it's difficult to understand him because he speaks too fast. Next one, at first means initially. Example, James was nervous at first, but later she felt more relaxed. So far we discussed about the commonly used prepositions. Here are some miscellaneous expressions with prepositions. So it will have all the expressions, all the prepositions we spoke about. So starting off with this miscellaneous one. Starting off with the first one, which means on the beach, is on the beach. We walked on the beach for several hours last night. Another expression is in place of, which means instead of. Example, Sam is going to meeting in place of his brother who has to work. Question, the example 3, expression 3 is for the most part. It means mainly. It means mainly. The article discuss for the most part the possibility of life on the other planets. Expression 4, in hopes of, means hoping to. In hopes of means hoping to. John called his brother in hopes of finding somebody to watch his children. Next, of course means certainly. Example, of course, if you study the material very thoroughly, you will have no trouble on the examination. Sixth, off and on means intermittently. It rained off and on all day yesterday. Seventh expression is all of a sudden, which means suddenly. Example, we are walking through the woods when all of a sudden we heard a strange sound. And the final expression, for good, means forever. Helen is leaving Chicago for good. This was all about the use of prepositions. Now we'll start off with the exercise. This will help us to understand the concept even better. So let's start it. So I will be changing the slides with some good number of blanks. And you have to fill these all with all the prepositions we just spoke about. You might insert all these we studied and plus considering the diagram as well, ताकि आपको clarity हो कि आपने किस तरीके से इन blanks को fill करना है. There are a few more on your slides, on your screen. So we will study each one of them separately. So just keep going, pause your video and fill them up, and then we'll start the answers. Here we have more. I hope you are done with all the answers by now. अब हम इसकी answer sheet start करते हैं. So without wasting any time, let's start. Okay, during the summer, we went to the beach every day. We stayed at a lovely motel right on the beach. I hope you're with me with all the blanks we showed you already. In the morning, we would get up at 6:30, have breakfast, and then spend 4 hours at the pool with all other guests. At 1, we would have lunch in our room. For lunch, we would eat something light like sandwiches and fruit. In the afternoon, we would return to the pool area and sit in the sun for a while. At night, we would take long walks on the beach or visit some friends who lived at 520 Volsia Avenue in Daytona Beach. Many people from out of town stayed at that motel. Like us, they had been coming to that same motel since 1975. Most of them were from Ohio. From time to time, we would eat out in a nice restaurant where we did not have to wait long for the waitress to serve us. In July, it is usually very crowded, but this year at least it was not as crowded as in the past. Once in a while, we went to the movies at the theater on the corner of Las Olas Boulevard and Castillo Avenue. We arrived there in no time at all by car. We sat in the middle of the theater in the 12th row. The movie started at 7 sharp, so we get there just in time to buy some popcorn and find out seat. At first, I thought I would not enjoy it, but in the end, it turned out to be a very interesting movie. On the whole, it was an enjoyable evening. We decided to get a Coke out of the machine, but unfortunately it was out of order. So, in place of the Coke, we decided to get some ice cream at the dairy aisle, which was located at the corner at Harp Ave and Washington Street. After or upon returning to our motel, I decided to finish reading my novel. It's by far the most exciting book that Victoria Holt has ever written. For the most part, her book deals with a group of archaeologists who went to Egypt in hopes of discovering some pharaoh's tomb. By accident, they uncovered a plot to smuggle the treasures out of Egypt. Of course, the archaeologists got in touch with the authorities who had heard some rumors about smuggling off and on. All of a sudden, one day the police showed up and caught them in the act and arrested them. Thanks for watching this video. If you like, subscribe to my channel and share with your friends and family. Thanks for watching.